Back here with my good friend, Rich Norton, who's hanging out in his car and giving us his very valuable time as we're just recording a bunch of these clips, which I really enjoy doing. How are you doing today, Rich?
Doing fantastic. Always great talking with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked last week about this way the economic model works in our industry and how you look at residual split and you say, well, I could get a really high residual split with one company that may or may not be legitimate. Maybe it is, but what am I giving up? Right? What am I getting in exchange for that? And so this week we want to focus on the upfront money because last week we talked about kind of the training aspect and how, usually if you get a company that's providing a high level of support to you and to your merchant, maybe that residual split's not going to be quite as high initially as you get started. But one of the other things we have to look at is upfront money because agents will come into this business and they do need to make some money up front. I mean, the residual doesn't start day one, Rich. So talk about that a little bit. What's the importance of the upfront money and how should agents be thinking about that as they're looking at compensation options?
Absolutely. I've had many representatives reach out to me and they're like, man, I want to have success in the business. How can I get to this point of residuals? I'm going to have to work a full-time job or a part-time job before I get to that level. And you don't have to. And that's why it's important to get with a company that you can make great upfront money while you're building your book of business. And that's what we have. And I love the fact that Payrock really understands that. They've stepped up their game when it comes to that. If you don't mind me sharing what they're
Please.
doing right now. So everybody knows that's in the industry. You got traditional processing, you got surcharging, we have consumer choice, and that's a whole nother video that we can do, making
Sure.
sure it's a compliant consumer choice. But Payrock's paying a $250 bonus just on traditional. Doesn't matter the volume at all, which is amazing. And then on the other two, they're paying a $500 bonus up front. Now, merchants need new equipment, so we have rental programs that really make a lot of sense. And for those that want to do leasing, we make that make a lot of sense as well. The leasing company does a $150 bonus up front, and then commissions off those can range anywhere from 200 to over 1,000. I was talking to one of my executive team leaders out of Wisconsin. He has about 15 representatives. Len Katz is his name. And Len's been with us for a couple of years. He comes from the executive world, came into this industry. And he said, I'll tell you this, that we were really kind of looking through all this and looking at the numbers. Our representatives are averaging, these are brand new representatives and reps that have been around for a while, are averaging a little over 800 on every merchant that they're writing in upfront money. So when you think about that, a representative can go out as a new rep, write two, maybe three merchants in a week, and they're making, and that's not a big deal. They're making 1,600 to a little over a couple $1,000s for the week, just in upfront money, and they're building their residual income. So that's why I tell representatives that can a representative earn six figures their first year in our industry? Yes, they can because of the upfront money and building their book of business.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, like you have to have flexible options for this. So, to clarify what Rich is saying here, there's different ways to make money up front in our industry, right? You have the what we call the upfront bonus, which Rich talked about
Yes.
250 or 500. That's literally just a bonus. That's not like you don't have to pay that back. It doesn't get pulled out of your residuals or anything. It's just you get paid this upfront bonus for bringing this account, across the finish line. But then if you want to grow beyond that, there's these hardware options. And so Rich talked about, you have rental options, you got lease options. So you have all these different options. And it can honestly be a little confusing initially to kind of figure out, first of all, what hardware do I, place with this merchant? What do I do a rental? Do I do a lease? What should I do? And so these things are not, I know I have a lot of haters who I'm sure will make some comments on social media about this, but I don't believe leasing is inherently evil. I actually made a video about that a while back. I don't believe renting is evil or it's not, it's economics. What makes sense for the merchant? Is it a good deal for them? There are ways to do rental programs and leasing programs that are not good. Just like there are
Right.
ways to do, I've seen, Rich, I've seen merchants that had quote unquote free equipment with a
Yes.
5-6% effective rate on their processing,
No
um,
doubt about it.
right. So,
Yes.
so we got to look at what's right for the merchant and everything like that. But I think at the same time, especially when you're new to the industry, you need to understand these options. So, Rich, for those who want to understand a little bit more about this, talk about these upfront options, where would you send them to learn more?
Yeah, great point on that too, because I've seen a lot where they get so caught up in all I can do is free equipment. Well, are you really in sales? I mean, sometimes merchants get a little skeptical of that because they're going to say, well, nothing's free, but they're doing
Right.
free equipment and charging 40, 50, $60 a month and more, where you can do a small rental for half of that and just make it make sense. So it's all about making it make sense to the merchant. So great point right there. Yeah, and reach out to me at 904-434-4635, or you can email me at payrock, Payroc, Rich Norton at gmail.com. I look forward to speaking with you.